Did you know that unresolved stress and trauma could be the underlying cause of your chronic illness like autoimmunity? My name is Rachel. I'm a functional medicine practitioner who helps people get rid of symptoms of autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses. And I've not only seen this connection of trauma and stress leading to these issues with my clients, but also have experienced it myself. Today, I'll be taking you on a deep dive into how stress and trauma shape our physical health, exploring both the science and the steps that you can take to reclaim your health. For me, it all came together with an autoimmune disease I developed called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. People ask me all the time, what triggered my autoimmunity? And the answer isn't simple. For me, it was a combination of environmental toxins, diet, lifestyle, gut issues, and chronic stress and trauma. I grew up in a chaotic household and I experienced a lot of trauma early on, losing friends and family members, abusive relationships, and even surviving a near-death experience and multiple medical traumas later on in my life. It's only after years of learning about the trauma and health connection that I realized how these experiences led to the anxiety, the digestive issues, brain fog, fatigue, and other Hashimoto symptoms that I used to have. The science behind the connection is actually really clear, and I'm going to break that down for you today. Autoimmune diseases do not happen due to genetics alone. They are triggered by a perfect storm of factors: hidden infections and poor gut health, poor diet, environmental toxins, and stress. So studies suggest that 80% of people with autoimmune diseases report experiencing significant emotional stress before their diagnosis. And to make matters worse, dealing with autoimmunity in itself is stressful, creating this vicious cycle. And stress isn't just a feeling, it's a physiological response that alters our immune function. Here's how it works. When you're under chronic stress, your body releases neuroendocrine hormones that dysregulate the immune system. This leads to increased inflammation, altered cytokine production, and immune dysregulation, which can set the stage for conditions like Hashimoto's, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and other autoimmune diseases. When we talk about trauma, it's easy to focus on the really big events that we call big T traumas. These are things like physical or sexual abuse, natural disasters, witnessing the death of a loved one, or life-threatening accidents. These are significant life-altering events that leave lasting imprints on our brain and bodies. But equally impactful are those little t traumas, those smaller, repetitive stressors that we often brush aside, like being criticized, dealing with financial strain, experiencing repeated rejections or failures, or growing up in a household with frequent arguments. While big T traumas are often more visible and immediate in their effects, little t traumas are more insidious. So over time, they can lead to chronic conditions like anxiety, depression, and autoimmune diseases because the stress response is continually activated, leading to systemic inflammation and immune dysregulation. There's another layer to this called adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs for short. ACEs are traumas experienced during childhood specifically, such as physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, neglect, growing up in a household with substance abuse, mental illness, domestic violence, or other dysfunction. ACEs are unique because they occur during formative years when a child's brain and nervous system are still developing. Early exposure to trauma can alter the way the brain processes stress, making individuals more vulnerable to chronic stress, emotional dysregulation, and physical illness later on in life. A study published in Healthcare Basel found that individuals with ACEs are significantly more likely to develop autoimmune diseases in adulthood, including multiple sclerosis, type 1 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and beyond. Hospitalizations for any autoimmune disease increased with an increasing number of ACEs compared to those with no ACEs. The study also points out that those who had experienced both childhood adversity and adult trauma had higher levels of a marker for chronic inflammation called CRP, or C-reactive protein, than those with just the adulthood trauma. Being bullied in childhood and adolescence also predicted increased low-grade inflammation in adulthood with persistently increased levels of CRP. ACEs are also associated with other increased health risks in adulthood, including lung disease, heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. The ACE study, one of the largest investigations on childhood trauma, conducted by the CDC and Kaiser Permanente, that surveyed more than 17,000 participants, revealed that more ACEs a person experiences, the higher their risk of developing health problems like heart disease, autoimmune disease, diabetes, depression, and even early death. In fact, the study found that individuals with 4 or more ACEs were twice as likely to develop heart disease, 4 times more likely to suffer from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, and 12 times more likely to attempt suicide. And even if you haven't been through major traumas or have ACEs, stress is still a major factor for your health. Being constantly stressed wears down the body's ability to heal and stay healthy, making individuals more likely to develop mental health issues and physical illnesses. Stress induces changes in cortisol, blood sugar, insulin, blood pressure, and heart rate, among many other things. This is a part of our body's survival mechanism, but when it's not managed appropriately, this leads to various symptoms and diseases. So if you are experiencing chronic fatigue, nightmares, insomnia, digestive issues like IBS, nausea or bloating, skin problems like eczema or rashes, anxiety, depression, mood swings, PMS, low libido, or you have an autoimmune disease, then it might be time to consider how stress and any unresolved trauma are impacting your body. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, a leading trauma researcher, explains in his book, The Body Keeps the Score, that trauma is stored in the muscles and tissues. Unmanaged stress and unprocessed and unreleased trauma can lead to chronic inflammation, muscle tension, pain, and a variety of other health issues I've already talked about. I'll share how to work on this later on. But first, I want to talk a little bit more about the nervous system. So our nervous system plays a huge role in how our bodies handle stress. Ideally, we spend most of our time in the parasympathetic state, the rest and digest mode, where our digestion is optimized, so we're breaking down and absorbing our food, our immune system is at its highest function, and we feel grounded and calm and safe. In the polyvagal theory, this state is also referred to as social engagement. But when we experience trauma or chronic stress, we can move into a sympathetic state, also known as fight or flight, or even a dorsal vagal state where we can go into freeze or shut down or a fawn response. Now, these survival states are incredibly useful when we're in real danger. But when we're stuck there, our bodies prioritize survival over health. Now, over time, this leads to issues like weakened immunity, disrupted digestion, and hormonal imbalances. Unfortunately, it's very easy nowadays for us to be inundated by stressors, from being overworked to juggling a million things to do all the time. And stress isn't always about difficult emotions or being overloaded with tasks or traumatic life events. Even everyday exposures like environmental toxins, heavy metals, or hidden infections can also put your body in a state of stress, leading to the same physiological responses. I do have some clients, for example, who don't feel particularly stressed emotionally, yet they have symptoms of chronic stress. And often the culprits are things like heavy metals, gut infections, or mold exposure, which puts their body into a survival mode. So what do you do about everything that I've talked about today? Well, the truth is that you can't escape stress entirely, right? It's part of life. But what you can do is you can manage it. Daily stress management practices can make a huge difference and are really a requirement if you want to feel optimal and heal from any major health challenges. You need to make it a priority, just like you would diet, exercise, or sleep. There's a lot of practices that help to tone the vagus nerve that can help your nervous system become more regulated and resilient, such as cold exposure, gargling, humming, and breath work. There are also general ways to reduce stress on a daily basis, such as shaking, dancing, exercising, journaling, qigong, and even just spending some time in nature. When it comes to really rewiring the brain and the nervous system with serious traumas, I recommend finding a really good EMDR therapist. EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. This is a structured therapy that encourages you to focus on the trauma memory while simultaneously experiencing bilateral stimulation, typically with eye movements or, in my own experience, using these hand buzzers, which is associated with a reduction in the vividness and emotion associated with the trauma memories. I've enjoyed working with EMDR therapists who also use additional therapies like internal family systems, also known as parts work. To go a step further, I recommend working on things somatically. My favorite tools include somatic experiencing, which is a body-based therapy that helps you process trauma, emotions, and feelings of stress by focusing on internal sensations instead of thoughts and emotions. 2 would be EFT, or the Emotional Freedom Technique, which is also known as tapping. This is an evidence-based practice utilizing acupressure through fingertip tapping on specific meridian points in the body. Now, this technique reduces stress, anxiety, and trauma-related symptoms, promoting emotional and physical healing. EFT is one of my favorite modalities to help process stress and emotions, and I actually use it with my one-on-one clients. 3rd would be somatic breath work. Somatic breath work is one of my favorites as it can deeply reset the nervous system and release stored tension and stress. And as a certified somatic breathwork practitioner, I also use this regularly with my clients, and they see really big shifts. So if you're dealing with symptoms that just won't go away, like chronic fatigue, pain, digestive issues, or even autoimmunity, a holistic approach may be what's missing. When I work with my clients who have autoimmune diseases and chronic illness, we use functional medicine lab testing to uncover any sorts of hidden things like toxins, gut issues, other sorts of imbalances in their body, and support their healing through diet, lifestyle, and supplementation. And then we also use techniques to regulate the nervous system and release stress from the body. So that is what a holistic approach can look like. If you resonate with this, you can click the link in the description to book a free consultation with me, and I would love to chat with you and uncover what's really going on in your body and get you on a potential path towards vibrant health. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this helpful, give this a thumbs up, subscribe for more insights on functional medicine and holistic health, and comment below with your thoughts or questions. Together, let's support each other and rise up to our healthiest, happiest selves.